We're going to go ahead and get the program started. My name is Shelley Lewis. I am the current president of the League of Women Voters of Geauga, and so glad to see so many of you here. Tonight's program is going to focus on contested races and levies that will appear on your ballot for the November general election. Our mission is to empower voters and defend democracy. So we're really thankful that there are so many people here looking to get smarter about the candidates and levies that will be on their ballots. We're going to start our program with the Pledge of Allegiance. So all who are able, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, some acknowledgements. Off the top, thank you, Kenston. We're so lucky to be able to gather as a community in this wonderful space. We really appreciate all the help we've had putting this program together. I don't have one with me, but I see several of you have a voter guide, the print voter guide that came out this week, if you could wave those. We just want to thank the Chagrin Valley Times. They produce these at no cost. They do it as a public service, so that again, voters can do it. We also like to thank the Geauga Public Library. They act as a distribution center. So if you weren't able to get one with your local paper, you can pick up a free copy at your local public library. The Burton Library also has copies. We always need to thank our league volunteers. They're kind of mulling about, the ladies here. Again, so much work goes into putting these events on. We want to make sure that we thank our league volunteers. And lastly, we want to make sure to thank our candidates and spokespeople for being here tonight, for choosing to participate in this process. We're really thankful that you're here. So thank you, candidates. Okay, tonight our event is being recorded. We will have that up on our YouTube channel probably within a few days. So look for that link on our website. Okay, so a couple of basic rules. Not a debate, not a rally. We're a forum. We're here to educate voters. And so it's structured that way. We don't distinguish between incumbents and challengers. We like all of our candidates to be on the same footing. And this forum is subject to our newly revised empty chair policy. And just briefly what that means is that because these are all local races, we have jurisdiction over these races, and we've decided that in contested races, when only one candidate shows up, we're going to put that candidate on. So that's different from some of our other races where we don't have jurisdiction, and we're not allowed to put that race on. So tonight, we have great participation, so it's not even an issue. But we just want to make sure you're aware of that policy. Okay, the process. The voter guides are really a collection or a response to more broad general questions that we come up with, and we ask all of the candidates throughout the county. So they tend to be more general in nature. These forums are the place where you get to ask the questions that are important to you. And so we've had an online question portal open, and people have been submitting questions through that. And also people have submitted plenty of questions on their way in. Our questions are screened by a committee. Our committee is trained to eliminate bias. We all have bias. We work very hard to eliminate it and to hold each other accountable in that regard. It's to ensure we have a variety of questions that are pertinent to the races. If you have questions, please don't hold them. Find, where are my volunteers who are going to get questions? Rachel, back here, if you have a question, please flag her down, and Erica over here as well. They have to make it through our screening process to have any chance of being asked. So do not hold your questions. I think we can move on, Carol. Okay, so how this is going to work is our moderator will invite groups of candidates up here to the table. They're going to enter from the left. They're going to be seated in alphabetical order. They will be invited to make a 3-minute presentation, each of them. And once everyone has done that, the moderator will proceed with the question and answer session. Candidates will have 3 minutes to make their initial opening remarks, 1 minute to respond to the questions. We have a timer, and the candidates, this is for you primarily. Our timer is located right here in the front row. Emily, if you could, there we go. And she'll have an electronic countdown timer, so you'll be able to see it as it's counting down. And it gives a little explosion when it's done. So that's when you know your time is up. All right, we can move on from that. Okay, and then we realize that we're not going to be able to ask every question. So if you have questions remaining at the end of the program, we do invite the candidates out to the lobby area where you can continue your conversation. Candidates are able to get out literature and signs in that area. So, you're welcome to participate in that. If you have any other questions, we encourage you to visit vote411.org. It's the League's award-winning online voter guide. All right, so I'm going to, I'm sorry, I've got one more thing. Sorry, Megan. If you like what we're doing, I invite you to support us. We're an all-volunteer organization. We rely completely on the generosity of the community we serve. We've got a couple of students. Where are the students? We've got some students over here who will be sort of passing the cup during the event. You can also talk to someone out at our league table for donation options out there as well. So now I can turn it over. Our moderator tonight is Melanie Scanlon. She is a league member and a resident of Munson Township.
Welcome, everyone. I'm going to start by going over the schedule. You see, tonight's schedule is a mixture of levies and races, and we'll go in the order that you see on the slides here today. I'm very excited to announce that all of our candidates are here, and so it's going to be a great evening. So thank you, candidates. So let's get started with our first issue, which is a 7-mil renewal for the mental health programs. And I'd like to welcome up to the podium Christina Lacomiak, who will be sharing more about the issue.
Good evening, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. I'm Christine Lacomiak, and I'm the Executive Director of the Geauga County Board of Mental Health and Recovery Services. On November 7th, we're asking for your support on issue 22, a levy that has been supported by Geauga County residents for 34 years. This 0.7 mil is a renewal levy and not a new tax, amounting in $19 per $100,000 for a period of 5 years. Mental health and recovery services boards are established by ORC 340, and what we're charged with is planning, funding, and evaluating mental health and addiction services programs. And we're able to do that by funding a network of providers in Geauga County who provide services to Geauga County residents. The services provided by this funding include mental health, substance abuse, substance use disorder treatment prevention for all ages. The clinical services encompass psychiatry, case management, counseling, substance use disorder treatment, residential treatment, and recovery housing. We have support groups and services with this funding for families and friends who are grieving the loss of a loved one from suicide or an overdose. Trauma response services and debriefing for our community when tragic events happen here, including debriefing for our first responders and for our frontline staff who selflessly assume the role of lifesaver every single day. CIT, Crisis Intervention Training, is a 40-hour course for first responders who work in Geauga County, and they can, we have this, and we encompass this with law enforcement, and multiple outpatient clinical and supportive services to keep individuals in the community, because we know best treatment is when individuals can stay at home. We partner with multiple systems to add support in their systems with foster care, courts, and the criminal justice system. The funding supports direct services at provider agencies like Ravenwood Health, Family Pride, Lake Geauga Recovery Centers, NAMI, Red Tulip, Women's Safe, to name a few. We need your support to continue offering services, but most importantly, what I would like for you to know is that if you need help with mental health or substance use treatment, please call our code line at 440-285-5665, because we don't want you to struggle alone. Help is available, treatment works, and recovery, people recover. We really ask for your support on issue 22. It provides life-saving services.
And no questions came in about the issue. Thank you so much. Our next issue is a tax renewal levy of 2 mills for health programs, and Rich Prano is here to educate us about the issue. Rich, please take the stage.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for coordinating this. This is a great venue here for us to talk about our policies and issues and stuff. So, and thank you everybody for coming. So I'm here to talk about issue number 23, which is the Geauga Public Health Levy. It is a renewal. I'm proud to say it's the lowest levy at 0.2 mil. That equals about $5 per 100,000 valuation. So if your house is worth $400,000, it costs you about $20 per year. And it is a renewal, and it brings in approximately $653,000 a year to the health department. And the health department is funded. Okay, with the levy, we have grants and things that we apply for that we get, and also through permitting and licensing, like when you need a septic installed, or when you need a well inspection, or when you need restaurants, we inspect, restaurants and things like that. So we just had our Geauga County Fair last month, and the health department was charged with inspecting each and every one of those food trucks to make sure that they were giving us all good food and none of us would get sick. So, the other thing is the health department does work with Department of Emergency Services and other state and local agencies to coordinate emergency preparedness and response. You should also know that Geauga County Health District is not part of the budget for the Geauga County Commissioners or Geauga County. We have to be funded independently. Like I said, also I think it's important to note Geauga County ranks as typically number 1 or number 2 as the healthiest counties in the state of Ohio out of 88. That's a very good record. So I would urge you to please vote for issue 23 on November 7th, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
We are going to start with our first candidate race for Bainbridge Township Trustee. We have 2 candidates in this race and 1 that voters will be voting in this election. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Sally D'Angelo and Christina O'Brien. And as they're taking the stage, I'll give a quick reminder to what Shelley said. Each candidate will come up in alphabetical order to the podium to give their 3 minutes of prepared remarks. And once the remarks have been given, we'll open it up to question and answer. Each race will have roughly 3 to 5 questions depending on time and what comes in. So, Sally, should I take the stage?
Hi everyone, my name is Sally D'Angelo, and I'm running for Bainbridge Township Trustee because I love this community. I've lived here with my husband Tom here for 22 years. My background is Bachelor of Science in Education, as well as 40 years of owning my own business. It was Lakeshore Dance and Gymnastics. We had 1,000 students, and their parents came through the doors on a weekly basis. I bring business and management experience, including budgeting, to this position. I've been questioning some of the trustees' decisions. I'm not in favor of the TIF. That stands for Tax Increment Financing. They made a deal with the developer of Geauga Lake that 75% of our tax dollars would go towards this development of property. Bainbridge could have used a lesser percentage split with the developers. 75% is the maximum. The agreement is poorly written with loopholes for the developers. The developer also just received a $4.1 million grant in the beginning of this year. I think that he is set. The TIF will economically impact the Kenston schools. The trustees have changed the zoning from recreational usage to multi-use. The developer plans include having a Menards, a single-family homes, and 330 multi-family units of apartments. The Kenston schools, over a 10-year period, could lose more than $20 million. Think about it. If anyone wants to rent these apartments and attend the Kenston school system, that will be impacting a larger need for teachers and resources, and that will overwhelm our finances. This is our taxes going to the developer. Why didn't they keep it recreational? And they could have built something nice for the township, like bocce ball courts, pickleball courts, miniature golf, bike paths, or more. If building an apartment, why aren't they offering 55 and over? And that would protect our overloading of the schools. My second area to question is how they have handled Kelly's Working Farm. This is an agritourism business whose goals are recreation and education. They have homeschoolers attending in an open classroom environment, and they offer summer camps. This is a great place for children of Bainbridge Township to go. Kelly Trotted Hawken and her staff includes highly educated teachers with their master's degree. I have visited her twice in the last couple of weeks, and her parents, some who live in Lake Lucerne, absolutely love the education that their children are receiving. Now, Russell Township trustees have invited her there to start her business, if she wants to go there. I would work with our zoning inspector and boards and support our large lot zoning and not be bullied into allowing higher density development from aggressive developers. I would advocate for better internet and less power outages in the community. I want to be the ears for this community, listening and caring about what the people want. I heard one of the trustees say that they knew what the residents want. I want transparency at all meetings, and I believe in the sunshine law and open meetings. Am I done? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. D'Angelo. Now I'd like to welcome Christina O'Brien to the podium for a 3-minute remarks.
Good evening. Thank you, League of Women Voters Geauga. Thank you, students who have volunteered their time. Thank you especially Kenston for opening the forum for this very, very important evening. My name is Christina O'Brien, and I'm asking for your vote to re-elect me as your Bainbridge Township Trustee. Last time I stood in this spot, I froze. My sons gave me a D+ grade for my performance, so I figured this evening I can only improve. 3 minutes to discuss why I would like to be re-elected. I could take 3 hours and it would not be enough. It has been an honor to serve my fellow residents for the past 8 years. 24 years ago, my husband and I were starting a family, and I was determined to live in Bainbridge. We raised our 3 sons here, and I'm grateful to call it home. My goal is always to work with my fellow trustees to keep our semi-rural character, to keep our strong services, and to have responsible growth, because we're all grateful to call Bainbridge home. Being a trustee is a part-time position, but when done right, it's a full-time job. This board has accomplished a lot over the last few years. A few items that I have personally spearheaded. The land bank. Before properties were going to be turned over and it was going to cost Bainbridge tens of thousands, I got that taken care of. The bicentennial, I was tapped in the beginning to work with the committee so we could celebrate our 200 years in 2017, and what a great committee that was. The recycle area, I'm passionate about it. It's always, issues over there. I finally said, hey, let's do a live stream. Let's let the residents look in real time. Should you go to the recycle center? Are the bins full? Now you can look, and now we can also go after people who are illegally dumping, and we're doing it. The playground, my goodness. Settlers Park playground failed and it sat, and then River Road Park playground failed, and boy, the community came forward. We needed a playground for Bainbridge. I worked closely with 3 incredible, dedicated ladies, some families that donated, and then 2 incredible families who were generous with their donations to get us over the goal line, and Carrie's Play World is a reality. Back to Settlers Park, there's a grant called the Nature Works grant. It's for playgrounds. I said, let's apply for it. I was told, Christina, you'll never get it the first time around. Well, we applied, we got it, and we have a pretty cool park up at Settlers. There have been many difficult times that have been faced this township. The hardest was the pandemic. There were people coming at us that were just afraid of what was going to be. Our departments were running towards the proverbial fire. I contacted our department heads all the time to find out what they needed, give them support, just keep a calm. I called Nancy Santilli every once in a while because as I was watching in real time what Columbus was doing to our school, they were affecting our treasure, our children. We came through it. Township is still strong. There is work to be done. I want to make sure that I can get the work done to make sure that future generations will also be grateful to call Bainbridge home. Thank you, and I ask for your vote.
Okay, so we had some questions come in, and love to hear your answers, and you can stay seated for these questions. So, Christina, I'm going to start with you. What is your understanding of the tax increment financing, or TIF, set up by the trustees, and what effect do you believe it will have on our community, either good or bad?
Well, tax increment financing is a very important economic tool that we did put in place. This current board put it, well, not current, there was another trustee on part of it, that we put the districts over in 2018. When I ran in 2015, I said I wanted responsible growth. The growth is the Geauga Lake area. Yes, it was Geauga Lake, it was an entertainment district for an amusement park. In 2014 and 15, the zoning changed. It became multi-use. So over there is where the responsible growth is. When you talk about affecting the schools, the township was sued by the developer. We came to the table and put a pretty good deal for our township. Part of it, a Menards, a Meyer, those don't affect the schools at all. We are planning on a 55 and older because I think it's important. I've been here 24 years and I'd like to retire here and live here. It's not put together. There's so many items up in that area that aren't put together. But with the TIF, one thing with the TIF, the money doesn't go into the pockets of the developers. It goes into the township for the development,
Thank you, Ms. O'Brien.
and for the tax benefit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Ms. D'Angelo, would you like me to repeat the question?
Go ahead, Jen.
Okay. What is your understanding of TIF set up by the trustees, and what effect do you believe it will have on our community, either good or bad?
I'm not really for the TIF, just because 75% of our taxes going to the developer. I do not think that's good. The schools will lose money. Kenston needs money. from the taxes, that's where they get it from. They'll only have 25% left to be dividing up over 10 years. That's not much money. And if it might be 50, if it's exclusively 55 and over, that would be fine. But it's not going to be exclusively. There's going to be open for, tenants and children, and that will impact our school. That is not, that's not going to be economically, fiscally good for anyone. So I'm not for it. Lots of times TIFs can work. TIFs are a good thing for other communities where they wanted to do infrastructure, and they need that. Geauga Lake was not that bad off, and he's getting $4.1 million from a grant. I think that's enough to fix the devastated area that Wild Kingdom turned the Geauga Lake into. And I don't think they need I think that we should have done a better deal.
Thank you.
And if we can, I think we should have.
Thank you very much for your answer. We're going to switch topics, and so I'd like to start with you, Ms. D'Angelo. Can you please address your direct experience with township government and your attendance at various township meetings, particularly trustee meetings?
So I've had my business for 40 years, and so most of my time has been spent there. So I've watched some of the trustee meetings on, when I've been able to see it. I've also researched them by reading the minutes, but I've not been to a trustee meeting. And so, but I am willing, I'm a professional student. I'm willing to read and learn and gain access to any kind of information I can get, take any courses I can get to get better at learning what this job will entail and do a good job at it. I'm excited about Bainbridge. I'm excited about this position, and I think I can be the ears that hear and the heart that reacts for the Bainbridge people. I've been going door to door to hear everyone what they would like to say to, me and what they want for this community, and I've been taking lots of notes.
Thank you very much. Ms. O'Brien, same question to you. Can you please address your direct experience with township government, your attendance at township meetings, particularly trustee meetings?
Thank you, yes. So I am the current trustee. I've been a trustee for 8 years. When I ran in 2015, yes, I walked the doors too because I wanted to know what, meet everybody that I could. I brought my self-employed, I'm a lawyer, I'm self-employed, I run a title insurance agency, and I am the current trustee. I have ingratiated myself into township politics. I rarely miss a meeting. In 2002, I started looking at the minutes. In 2002, we had 33 meetings, regular and special. I was at 32. You have to be here. The township requires you have to be here for the fiscal office necessities for signing, even just this minimal signing checks. But a bigger one is, I'm chair of the recycle committee, I'm chair of the ESID that we just created. I've met with the county engineer a plethora of times, with our service director, I've met with zoning. You have to be here and present in order to do all the interactions. Cedar Street, the flooding there has been a tremendous issue since 2016.
Thank you very much.
Today for the hard work we do to clear up what's going on down there. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go back to you with this next question, Ms. O'Brien. Can you share your views on commercial growth on 306 south of East Washington? Should it be encouraged or discouraged?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What are your views on the commercial growth on 306 south of East Washington? Should it be encouraged or discouraged, and why?
That is a tough area as far as traffic. We all know Dunkin' Donuts. You get stuck right there. So I've taken pictures. I sent it to my fellow trustees. Something has to happen here. So the parcels right next door to Dunkin' were purchased. They were residential. Another CJE, consent judgment entry. And the township worked with that developer in order to try and alleviate the traffic issues. Now, what has to happen there in order for that to be developed, there has to be an easement that comes off of East Washington and some specific turn lanes on 306. The trustees entered into that because we believe it would foster the growth over there and alleviate the traffic issues that are there.
Thank you very much. Ms. D'Angelo, what are your views on the commercial growth on 306 south of East Washington? Should it be encouraged or discouraged, and why?
So do you mean right directly south of East Washington, or more south, like towards the
You
freeway.
can interpret it how you like.
Okay. So, I'm for commercial growth. I think we need possibly grants to start having some of the commercial growth. I would not encourage it right by Washington because it's right now it's so congested there. But there's a shopping center that has so many empty buildings that we need to, get those buildings going and yes, get commercial growth going there. And then if we did do that, I think that we should have an exit off of Munn Road so that we can alleviate the traffic coming down 306 because right now it's ridiculous. I live on Tulip Lane, I can't get out sometimes without almost killing myself. It's dangerous.
Thank you. Last question, and I'll go to you first, Ms. O'Brien. Can you share what particular issue motivates you to serve as trustee?
The stability of this community. I love this community. When I say I was adamant to live here, when we found out we were having our first child, Bainbridge was the place to be. Our services are strong, our schools are strong, our community is interwoven. We care about each other. We really do. And that is why I want to serve as your township trustee. I want to have the smart growth, the responsible fostered commercial growth where it should be. I want to look and review what can we improve on that corner, on south of 306 in East Washington. What zoning laws can we continue to, we tweak them all the time. We're trying to put our land use plan together. It was updated in 2015. We're looking at updating again. It's a little rocky road getting there, but it's the forecast for the future. It's the way that we are all trying to maintain what we know as Bainbridge, what the place we're all grateful to call home. That is why I want to run. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ms. D'Angelo, to you, what particular issue motivates you to run and serve as trustee?
I'm sorry, say it again.
What particular issue motivates you to serve as trustee?
I want to see Bainbridge stay rural. I'd rather not become big business in a city, and that's what I'm afraid that the current trustees might want to do. I think that they are wanting to make it into a city. When I first moved here, I said, where the city meets the country, and I like that feeling. I like that feeling of having large lots, having freedom, having air, having places to go. But what I would like to see is more diverse kinds of recreational activities going on, so that we're not having to go to another community to do the silver sneakers, or so we have it in our own community here. We can have different programs like pickleball. I don't know where there's pickleball except for maybe Canyon Lakes. So things like that. I'd like to see more recreational stuff for all age groups.
Perfect. Ms. D'Angelo, Ms. O'Brien, thank you so much for being here tonight, for answering questions from the voters. We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about another tax levy. This is a 1 mil renewal for streets, roads, and bridges. And we have John Brett here to talk about the issue.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Brett. I'm the road superintendent of Bainbridge Township. I'm here tonight to ask for your approval, your support on our 1 mil renewal road and bridge levy. This is a renewal levy, and like all renewal levies, this does not increase your taxes. This levy costs residents $25 per $100,000 of assessed value on your home. It generates an estimated $534,000 for road repair, construction, and maintenance. Many years ago, Bainbridge was a farming community, and all of our roads were either dirt or gravel. As time goes on, the roads have been improved upon. As the roads are improved upon, upon, residents start to move in, population grows, and we start to see developments pop up. As this happens, Geauga County engineers have created standards for any new road construction. Over time, these standards have been improved upon, and we currently find ourselves with a lot of our subdivision roads superior to some of our main roads. This is a little bit of a problem. As you can imagine, our main roads have two factors: the speeds are higher and the traffic is much higher too. So we've currently tried to focus on improving some of our main roads, and in doing so, we have to meet the county standards to do this. So tonight, I'm here to ask for your approval on our levy, your support for our levy. It's a renewal levy, and this will enable us to provide the same service that you expect from us and to hopefully continue to improve all of our roads and make them safer spring, summer, fall, and winter. Thank you very much.
There were no questions for that, so thank you very much, Mr. Webb. Our next issue is a 1.35 additional permanent improvement levy for the Kenston Local School District. And we have Mr. Seth Hales here to talk about the levy.
Good evening. I want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for having me here to speak at the forum. My name is Seth Hales. I'm the new treasurer at Kenston Local School District. I'm very excited to be a part of the district, so thank you again for having me. So I want to give you some factual information about what the Kenston Board of Education just recently put on the ballot. They put on a 1.35 mil, 5-year permanent improvement levy. If approved, the levy is going to generate $1.265 million a year to be used for capital expenditures or permanent improvements. So what does this mean? What is a capital expenditure? So in order to be a capital expenditure, it has to meet 2 criteria. It has to have a useful life of 5 years or more, and it has to cost $5,000 or more. So examples of what this can be used for: transportation of maintenance and maintenance of vehicles, such as our buses and vans; general building maintenance and equipment, such as our roofs, the doors, the windows, HVAC, lighting, plumbing; safety upgrades, cameras; technology upgrades, such as servers for infrastructure, technology infrastructure. What this cannot be used for: PI funds cannot be used for salaries and benefits or any other regular day-to-day expenses. So it's extremely important to make that distinction. Also, a PI levy is not a bond issue, meaning we will not use the funds to build a new building. It's for the maintenance and repair and upkeep of our existing facilities and grounds. It's also interesting to note that Kenston School District is one of 13% of schools in Ohio who do not have a PI levy. So that's a very interesting fact. So what is this PI levy going to generate? The $1.265 million. So currently, historically, over the past 4 years, we have taken $575,000 annually out of the general fund and transferred it to the PI fund. Now, as our buildings continue to age, that number will continue to increase and grow larger, hence the need for the $1.26 million levy. This equates to approximately $47.25 annually for every $100,000 in assessed value. So, given what the district is facing, how we are only 13% of schools who don't have a PI levy, it's important to consider that this will help alleviate the need to transfer general fund dollars to the PI levy for capital expenditures. By having this levy, we will be able to make sure that our buildings are supported. Yeah.
And we did get a question, but before we go to that question, I want to go back a slide because I missed a step on my agenda, so I apologize for that. And I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that this event is sponsored by the League of Women Voters, as you all know, and held at Kenston Local School District. Kenston schools and district employees and officials are not permitted to advocate for or against issues, but they're able, when they're being compensated by the district. So any information provided by the district employees and officials is limited to facts, which he provided, and neutral information. So thank you for that, Mr. Kales. We did get a question. So if this levy is an additional levy, what will you and the district do if you get a windfall more than expected due to increased property values as a result of the countywide revaluation?
I think it's important to remember the countywide reevaluation is done every 6 years. That impacts a very small percentage of our millage. That impacts the inside millage, which is 4.5 mils. So materiality-wise, right, this is going to be, even though if it goes up 20%, 30%, it's not going to be a huge or significant or material increase to revenues for the school. If we do get an increase by the reevaluation, that will be good for the schools, but the PI levy would be needed to help offset the general fund transfer. Again, we are one of 13% of schools who do not have this. And if we can alleviate that, that will be beneficial going forward. It'll hopefully help to postpone or put us in a better financial position going forward, so we won't have to transfer those dollars. And again, we have aging buildings that require increased levels of capital expenditure to keep those up. So I think it's going to be a very small percentage if we see those increased values on the inside village.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Kales. Next, we have the Kenston Board of Education race. We have 5 candidates here today running for 2 spots. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Mr. Joseph DeBoff, Jim Henry, Mabel Kopp, Thomas Manning, and Daniel Dan Tutelo. And Mr. DeBoff, welcome.
Hi, my name is Joe DeBoff, and I'm running for the Kenston School Board. I'm an Auburn resident of 18 years and have 2 kids at Kenston. Eli, who's in 9th grade, and Emily, who's in 7th grade. For all those teachers and teacher aides out there, thank you for servicing my kids and the kids of Kenston. I got interested in running for the school board a few months ago when I heard Kenston wanted the levy redo up this upcoming November. In 2021, I attended a few levy meetings, and for me, the math and the message didn't reconcile. Essentially, the district communicated the problem, deficit spending, and requested the community to fix it. We know that failed miserably. As someone who has held multiple financial positions, I have had to build financial plans and business cases and reduce costs to achieve operating leverage or surpluses. We did this mostly by eliminating inefficiencies and waste, by streamlining processes, and improve transparency and accountability through technology. When I look at Kenston's financial statements and compare 2015 to 2021, I'm left with big questions. I see an explosive growth in expenses. In a 7-year period, Kenston has managed to increase its expense run rate by $6.3 million. Essentially, it has added $6.3 million since 2015. Rounding up, Kenston could have hired almost 100 teachers. Interesting, the big question of big expenses gets bigger because the published reports show a reduction of 19 teachers and aides over the same comparative period. Could that contribution result in declining test scores? I would ask you to temper your reaction as I don't know the nature of the transactions behind these published numbers. But this is exactly what I can do for the community. I will help you understand these numbers. I will help you, the treasurer, identify inefficiencies and waste, and right-size the financials to a declining enrollment. As I analyze the financials, we cannot lose the focus on the mission. The mission of retaining and attracting the best teachers and doing what's best for our students. The focus needs to shift from us candidates to you, the parent, to you, the student. Beyond financials, I stand with Dan on his policies. We have recently formed a new friendship as I research finances and he researches policies. Dan is a disciplined military vet, an experienced technical writer who has a solid understanding of governmental law and school policies. I find his skills extremely valuable, and I hope you do too. In closing, Kenston is a very good school district, but we can make it even better. Dan and I have a trained eye to eliminate inefficiencies in words and numbers. We want to improve Kenston on the fundamentals of finance, enhance clarity in policies, and work with all stakeholders, including the children who need our support and encouragement. Thank you.
Perfect. Next, we have Mr. Jim Henry. Mr. Henry.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for holding these so invaluable forums. My name is Jim Henry, and I'm running for the Kenston School Board. There's certainly a business side to schools, but our most important mission is educating our children. I am a retired educator. I have 40 years of experience in teaching children as a classroom elementary and enrichment teacher, reading specialist, administrator, and international baccalaureate coordinator. For 5 years, I taught Native American children in rural Alaskan villages on the Yukon River and above the Arctic Circle. I learned early on how important it is to be a good listener and show empathy and sensitivity to other cultures. I served as a reading specialist in the Cardinal schools in Middlefield and Parkland. Then after teaching for 29 years in the Shaker Heights City Schools, I retired. I know children and I know teaching. I also come from a family that understands service to Geauga County. My grandpa Chuck Henry served on the very first Kenston School Board in 1953. My mom Jean just turned 93 and is a 30-year retired Kenston teacher. I thought she was going to be here, but she's taken home taking care of the chickens. My dad Gene was a Geauga County prosecutor, sister Dodie a Chagrin magistrate, brother Chip a Geauga County juvenile and probate judge, and brothers Pat, Dan, and sister Polly share my public school career as teachers and administrators. All are products of the Kenston school system. My wife Grace and I are graduates of Kenston, as are our 4 children. I coach them all in the Kenston Rec program. They live locally and are in attendance tonight. Finally, all my 6 grandchildren live in the district. The oldest 2 are first graders at Timmins. Kenston's important to me and will be for a long time. My educational background and commitment to the Geauga County area would be an important perspective to have on the board. I know the ins and outs of schools and the important role of our teachers. I can ensure that policies are not just theoretically sound, but practical in the classroom. One initiative that I would like to explore on the board is not a new one. In the past, Kenston has utilized the expertise of expected veteran staff to serve as mentors to newer teachers and or to be developed as science or writing enrichment coaches and benefit all students. Listening to residents over the past few months of my campaign, many fondly remember their first grader coming home with a published book from their time spent with the writing coach. Another district effort to address is the developmental tool called a TIF, which is being used in the Geauga Lake Development Project. The TIF will affect both Bainbridge and Auburn residents as it will become a new revenue stream for the district. The school board needs to have a seat at this table in negotiations and not be an afterthought. I look forward to working with our current board members on this initiative. Collaboration is best for the community and for our children. Please consider me, Jim Henry, for the Kenston School Board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Next, I'd like to welcome to the podium Mabel Kopp. Ms. Kopp.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank the women voters, the League of Women Voters for inviting me, and thank you for all of your audience participation. I'm a little annoyed. Can I use the P word here? No, I can't use the P. They told me I couldn't use it. Anyway, I've got 5 basic principles that I would like to address, but I'm only going to address 1, but I'm going to hit them all 5 right now. 1 is the TIF. Somebody's going to project stealing $24 million worth of taxes for the Kenston School District. I want to ensure the economic survival of Kenston School at all costs. I also would like to address the diversity training available in Kenston. It's time that we learned how to live together with people of differences. Just because you're different doesn't mean you can't contribute to a society. I also want to address conflict resolution. We've got an environment of hate that is causing a lot of people. Wow. Don't let me do that again. A lot of people to be violent in resolving their differences. Another is we've got to save public schools. There's an environment out there that's trying to abolish public schools. Who in their right mind is going to allow that to happen? And we want to address the TIF. It's time. Anyway, I'm Mabel Cobb, and I've got an axe to grind with some of the people on the previous stage. That TIF is designed to defund the tax base for the Kenston schools, no matter what she says. I oppose the tax increment financing district TIF created by the Bainbridge trustees, and I oppose their agreement to give developers the former tax lake property $21 million of our property taxes. It goes to the developers, not to us. And she lied. I'm sorry. I was told not to use the L word, so I'll use the P word instead. Okay.
Next, we have Thomas Manning. Mr. Manning.
Hi, my name is Tom Manning. I'm looking to serve a third term as a member of the Board of Education. I've been a part of the Kenston community for over 25 years. My wife is a 1987 graduate of Kenston, and my daughter is now in college at Penn State University, and my son is currently a senior at Kenston and will be entering in the Army ROTC program next fall. My involvement and dedication to this district runs deep. I was a math and computer science teacher for 5 years, director of technology for 16 years, which enabled me to be in every building, every classroom, and interact with every single teacher. I was an adjunct professor at Ashland University, specializing in teacher training, and I have my master's degree in education. After 21 years working in Kenston, I branched out to expand my property management and development business full-time. Doing so left a void in my commitment to my lifetime educator goals. My entire life has been centered around education, as I grew up in a household of educators. My father was a 30-year math teacher, and my mother was a home economics teacher. That's kind of why I like to cook, I would think. During my tenure working at Kenston, I was involved in a lot of athletics. I was everything from a middle school soccer coach, a freshman football coach, and a head wrestling coach for many years, in which I led to multiple conference championships, and I brag about our 3 individual state champions that we have, one of which is currently a coach for us. As well as volunteer work as tournament director the past 15 years at the KIT Wrestling Tournament, I'm also a member of the Bainbridge Civic Club, the Booster Club, Cub Scout Treasurer, and I'm a mentor for the business department entrepreneurship program that they just started, among many other activities that I do in the community. I currently maintain my Department of Education educator license by doing the required 180 contact hours of professional development activities every 4 years. Being current on the latest issues in education is important to me. I have been with the District Finance Committee for the past 8 years and am our CFO of my own business. I am well versed on evaluating finances, and I'm excited that our board, under the leadership of our superintendent, will be reviewing a right-sizing plan that will cut our expenditures significantly. Release of this plan is scheduled for October 9th at our work session, so I want to make sure everybody tunes into that. I also have been serving on the District Safety and Security Committee, and my involvement goes way back to when I was working in the high school when it was built. As technology director, I was in charge of the purchase, placement, maintenance of the security cameras and the door lock systems you see here today. I was also tasked with internet safety for our children, which I took very seriously. So I've spent most of my time talking about the past, and there's a reason for that. I believe that to judge on where someone is going to take us, you must first know where they've already contributed to the community and to the schools. Thank you. And I want to thank Kenston for hosting this event also. Thank you.
Dan Titler, welcome to the podium.
Hi, I'm Dan Tulo. I've got kids in K and First, and we are absolutely satisfied with the education and care our kids are getting. I spent 4 years teaching English as a foreign language, 8 years in the military, 5 years as a government contractor, and a combined 19 years as an owner of a real estate investment business. I'm running for board because I think our district faces financial challenges stemming from deficit spending combined with lack of taxpayer trust, and I am willing and able to help the district overcome these issues. A board member has 4 basic duties: set policy that govern the district, approve expenses, hire the superintendent and the treasurer. All of these are business-related functions. The district has a $45 million budget, and it's the largest employer in Bainbridge and Auburn. Shouldn't the majority of board members have some understanding of how to run or manage a business? There's 3 reasons I think you should consider voting for me. One is we're facing financial challenges. Joe's already mentioned some of the financial challenges our district are currently facing. Besides that, the school was already projected to deplete current reserves by 2026 until the current superintendent and board implemented changes to reduce spending by over $1 million. The November PI levy, which is the smallest since 1955 and which I support, will certainly help if it's passed. Now we have an opportunity to staff our board with financially competent members who understand how to operate a business. I'm one of those qualified choices. But no other candidate on this stage they pale in comparison to Joe DeBoff, an MBA business consultant who does this for a living, streamline businesses and turn around their finances. So this election is really about who we should elect to fill the second position. I believe I'm a good complement to Joe's skills. Number 2, my technical experience. My experience as a technical writer for the government has provided me with skills to evaluate an organization's written documentation to ensure it's consistent, accurate, and complete. Just as we need competent board members to review expenses requested by the superintendent, we should also have competent board members to review policies provided by third parties. Board speaks through its policies, and therefore it's critical our policies are reviewed, updated, and technically accurate. 3, taxpayer trust. As I've been out knocking on doors for the past month, taxpayers have told me they feel like they're taken for granted. Taxpayers need to be treated like shareholders. After all, they fund the district. They should be receiving annual reports, not just contacted a month before the levies due, or even worse, get blindsided when they go to the polls. The pie chart in the annual calendar is a really good start, but it lacks important information that the district already has. What levies are open? How much do they generate annually? Which expenses are tied to which levy, and when do they expire? This information would inform taxpayers so that they had an expectation of when the next levies come and how much will be needed. We need to educate the taxpayers, treat them with respect, don't make them do research.
Thank you.
Joe and Dan.
Candidates for the Kenston School Board race, and we're going to go into our question and answer period. We received several questions. I want to remind all our candidates to please keep your answers to the issues, no personal attacks, And you are addressing the audience, not each other. So, does that sound good? We can all agree to that? So our first question, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Manning. What is your understanding of the TIF set up by the Bainbridge Township Trustees, and how would you work to minimize any negative effects on the school district?
So this is an area I'm very well versed in, very skilled in, because being in the real estate business and the development business, I've actually been on the other end of it. And understanding what the TIF is, the money that the taxes that are diverted from the TIF that goes to the school do not go to the developer. Those taxes go into a fund held by the township. And the township is going to use those funds to better the area of where this development happens. So when you go and you put a Menards and a Myers into a property, the township has to encumber the cost of the extra police support, the fire response, the curbs, the sidewalks. That's an expense they're going to take on by letting the developer in. That TIF money is redirected into a fund that handles that. Now, the school. Yes, the school does want their share of the tax money from those entities. And that's where we're working with the township, and we've been in constant discussions with them on how we can create a win-win situation for the schools
Thank you, Mr.
and
Manning.
for the township to take care of their needs.
Thank you very much. Mr. DeBach, what is your understanding of the TIF, and how would you work to minimize any negative effects on the school district?
I agree with Mr. Manning and his commentary on the TIF. I don't know all the details, but I do know how TIFs work. I knew that there's a separate fund that's separated, and we'll have to look at it, as Tom suggested, and work together with Bainbridge to ensure that Kenston does keep its fair share. And ultimately, the TIFs are used to incentivize developers and development that will actually grow the revenue base, tax base for Kenston. So you're looking at the long-term basis of this. It's definitely something that we should encourage, look at. And I think that there is some misunderstanding here based on what I've heard. So I think there's a little bit of education on both sides that can improve the dialogue, because we really need to be in partnership with this and make sure we do the right thing for Bainbridge and for Kenston.
Thank you. Ms. Scott, would you like me to repeat the question?
I didn't hear the question.
I'll repeat it for you. What is your understanding of the TIF set up by the Bainbridge Township Trustees, and how would you work to minimize any negative effects on the school district?
Well, my understanding of the TIF is not exactly as it's been proposed by other people. I understand the TIF as that the developer is the one. The TIF is designed by the state of Ohio to allow developers an incentive to repair depressed property. Or let's say you have an oil spill and nobody really wants to deal with cleaning up that oil spill. It gives the developer an incentive to clean up that oil spill to be able to become a productive property. But that money goes to the developer, not the community.
Thank you. And we can hold our applause till the end if you don't mind, to keep things moving. But Mr. Henry, I'm going to go to you. Do you mind answering the question? I'm happy to repeat it if you'd like.
Okay. This is a complicated tool, a developer tool. Right now, we currently have a 10-year, 75% non-consent TIF. When the trustees decide to do that, if we do nothing, that's what we have, and we can't do anything about it. Now, the school board can sit down at the negotiating table and negotiate something longer than that. I'm not familiar enough with this right now to know what is the right sweet spot for this, but that is something that the board is going to need to discover. The TIF, this Geauga Lake area, I think it actually is probably a good thing, because Geauga Lake, I live right in the area, and it was pretty much a wasteland for now. And now at least something is going to happen, and our tax dollars, the tax for it was a lot lower, and we have a chance to have a new income stream for Kenston. So the school board needs to do their homework and figure out what's right for Kenston. Thank you.
Thank you, right on time. And Mr. Tudelo, to you.
The most important question is not what we know about the TIF, but how we're going to handle the results of the TIF. That's why we need financially competent members on this board, people who know how to operate and manage a business, who are going to deal with the consequences of the TIF, because unless it's a 30-year TIF, the school board has no say in what happens with this TIF. The school board has to be approved as a 30-year, otherwise it's in the control of the township. Now, of course, we're going to reach out with the township, and we're going to do whatever we can to make sure that anything happens, that it's carried out in a way that benefits the school, but it's completely under the control of the township. They have a complete autonomy in this matter. So we need people on the board who are going to handle whatever situation is handed. If the taxpayers don't approve a levy, if the township takes a portion of our tax base from a TIF, if they bring in multiple families with multiple kids, we need people on the board who can handle that situation and are going to take and work with the budget we have and make this school excellent and excel no matter what the situation.
Thank you. We're going to switch gears to curriculum, and I'm going to start with you, Ms. Cobb. Beyond reviewing the curriculum designed by school professionals, what further role should the board or parents have in curriculum decisions?
That's an interesting question. I would hope that the teachers have been trained, professionally trained, so the teachers, I believe, have a better background to assure the parents that their choice of curriculum is such that it would be for the benefit of the child's growth. If a person feels that their child is not getting the proper education because of their curriculum, I can imagine they could petition the board or the school to change it. But most of the time, we have to support our teachers. They're professionals. Not only do they need our support, they need our support financially, and our teachers are not getting the proper financial remuneration. They need a life.
Thank you. Mr. Tudelo, to you. Beyond reviewing curriculum designed by school professionals, what further role should board or parents have in curriculum decisions?
The board sets the policies regarding how curriculum is chosen and reviewed by parents. Teachers should absolutely have full control of their classroom, and it's the administration that is going to handle the curriculum decisions. We shouldn't be tying hands behind the teacher's back, and we certainly shouldn't be letting a single parent come into a classroom and try to take over a classroom. At the same time, teachers simply need to know what freedoms they have and restrictions they have, and that's the board's position, is to set those policies and make those guidelines absolutely clear so we have absolute transparency. The clearer our guidelines are, the better educated our teachers and our parents are, then the more trust we have and cooperation we have between both. So there's federal laws and there are Ohio laws that allow parents to review curriculum and to object to curriculum. And that's really the only concern I have as a board member, is making sure that those parents' requests are honored and that those parents and that the teachers can accommodate those requests if needed.
Thank you. Mr. Henry.
Yes, thank you. The curriculum standards are set by the state, and we also have the Ohio model curriculum. It's kind of the job of the teachers to take those standards and come up with good ways of teaching it, and together with the curriculum director. So it's pretty much open to teachers and to the district itself as to how they want to get those standards correct, taught through.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Mr. Manning.
So I have experience writing curriculum. I actually wrote the computer science curriculum back when I was working with the school. And the role of the assistant superintendent in charge of curriculum is where that lies, that responsibility lies. What our curriculum does, along with our building administrators, is they have benchmark goals that are set up. We have a system called an MTSS system. What it does, it identifies weak areas among our students through the testing that we do with them. Our quality profile also gives an expanded view of those results. Analyzing data is one of my contributing strong points, and also our job as a board for the curriculum is to make sure those goals that those administrators set are met, and then our curriculum is doing its job. If not, that's when we put into question what's going right with our curriculum and what's going wrong. So we're more of an oversight, we're not setting it, but we're monitoring it to make sure that our scoring systems are reflecting a good curriculum.
Thank you. Mr. DeBoff.
I'm trying to summarize what I heard because it's all good answers. I would suggest, from a curriculum perspective, I think the policies and the process they have today are more than adequate. As parents, if we want to see the curriculum, we can request it and it'll become available to us. To what Dan's point, as far as we need to empower the teachers to follow the curriculum and teach. And so I think they have to be measurable. That's my only kind of contribution to this, kind of following up with what Tom said, is, what are the results of the curriculum? Are we meeting, the scores or the rankings, et cetera? So as long as it's measurable, I think there's nothing more that we need to add to the approval and I would say the assessment of the curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Henry, I'm going to start with you. How much responsibility does the school have regarding student mental wellness? What services should the district pay for? Mr. Henry. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, no problem. How much responsibility does the school have regarding student mental wellness? What services should the district pay for?
What services? Well, there's a thing about equality and equity. Equality means everybody gets the exact same thing, and equity means kids get what they need, and that's really what public school and what it's all about. It's so important that we're protecting kids both socially and physically, I should say emotionally and physically safe in our schools. I think we do need, we need to give the kids what they need to feel safe.
Thank you very much. Mr. Manning, to you.
Yeah, so mental wellness, as we call it here at Kenston, is a component of our district health and wellness plan. So there is an actual plan that we have. It's not a traditional classroom setting per se. We don't isolate this matter to one course or one grade level. This is a K through 12 initiative. So we have our proactive approach to this is a prevention and intervention is our approach. And we use this system called PBIS. It stands for Positive Behavior Intervention Support. And KHS just this past year was awarded the gold medal by the state for such a program. My wife would happen to actually be on the committee when they won that gold medal that did that. Our elementary teachers also receive something called PACS training, which deals with the social and emotional learning of all of our students. Our teachers are highly trained in identifying and taking proactive measures to help our students. Mental wellness is not just a one-size-fits-all. We create a culture here at our school that bounders fly together and that we're there for each other.
Thank you. Mr. DeBoff.
My experience of the wellness is really related to where I work at Deloitte Consulting, and they have a significant wellness program that has changed over the years. I would say evolved, where it's actually asking you the hard questions. Where are you? How are you feeling? And in a country that we've seen this skyrocketing suicide rates and kids that are just struggling, it's important to kind of have a pulse on the kids. Not the responsibility of teachers or the school, but essentially there needs to be some type of mechanism. And I think Tom, wellness program might be part of that, where we need to be able to identify those at-risk students and ensure that they have the help necessary to kind of bridge the phase that they may be going through. So I don't have all the answers, I just know I've been exposed to it and I'm learning it, and I appreciate what Kenston has done so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cobb.
I would like to repeat everything he said. Because you can't go beyond what he said. I think everything he said was dead on. That we have the resources in the school to address challenges, and the teachers are closer to the children than the parents are. So the teachers are the ones that can identify the child in need, probably before the parent does. And because our teachers are trained, we have the program, we have to leave it to them and listen to him. He knows.
Thank you. Mr. Titolo.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. How much responsibility does the school have regarding student mental wellness? What services should the district pay for?
Okay, so we have a two-part question. I think there's been a lot of discussion already for the responsibility, and I really agree with everything that was said, that services need to be in place to catch issues as they develop and provide services. I know the school is implementing the Standing Hook Promise program. That's a new development due to the updates in 3313.60, the curriculum law that has required schools to include social inclusion and other curriculum that identify and assist students with struggling with issues like this. As far as who should pay for these things, I think really once it's identified, it's going to be a combination of the school and whatever insurance program the family has to cover that. And if they don't, we'll reach out to organizations like Geauga Family First Council, which is a great resource for the county that will provide services or connect families with services in need.
Thank you. Mr. DeBuff, I'm going to start with you on this one. This is our last question for the school board race. Where do you stand on legislation that would ban the teaching of topics surrounding race, gender, and sex in Kenston schools?
Would you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely, thank you. Where do you stand on legislation that would ban the teaching of topics surrounding race, gender, and sex in Kenston schools?
Well, I'm aware of legislation on the House at this time that would ban the teaching. I think if there is, I need to educate myself. But I think the policies, the current policies of Kenston have been more than adequate to meet the demands of gender and
Race.
Race, yes. So the legislation kind of confused me. I mean, I have my personal opinions on what should happen. I'm just not aware of anything in the House at this moment. Okay?
Thank you. Mr. Henry.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
Absolutely. Where do you stand on legislation that would ban the teaching of topics surrounding race, gender, and sex in Kenston schools?
Well, I do believe in a comprehensive sex education program. More than 90% of middle school and high school parents agree that we need to have that in the schools. We need to keep kids safe. And there's I remember a story of a daughter telling their mom, I didn't think I could get pregnant until I was 18. So it's, we need that. We need it. Now, obviously it needs to be different levels. As far as race goes, it's history, it's facts. Some of our history is really good, some of it isn't. We need to teach it all.
Thank you. Mr. Tutelo.
The last thing we need to be doing is banning anything. The teachers are the professionals. We need to let them handle the classroom and teach the information in the way that they feel they need to do it. We have a board policy called 2240, which is controversial topics. And this policy is not mentioned in the student handbook. So one of the things I'm going to do is update the student handbook and make sure it's very clear to parents that we have this policy in there, because like I stated before, the clearer and your policies are, and the more aware everyone is of the framework that exists to handle these situations, the less mistrust, the less suspicion we have, and everyone can work in cooperation together. So this policy guarantees that if a controversial topic is injected in the classroom, the teacher has to offer both sides of the issue. They can't grade, well, what I would add to it is you can't grade a child on whether they agree with the teacher or not. It's implied in there, but it's not specifically stated. And it has to be approved by the superintendent or the principal. So education, knowledge is the key, and then we can build trust and handle this issue easily.
Thank you. Ms. Cobb.
When I went to school, we had a subject called biology. We learned about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees. We also had a subject called social studies or history that talked about countries that we didn't know about. You know, you're all by yourself, you're in high school or you're in grade school, and you only have a little world that's around you. And then you go to school and you find out there's a big world around you. When school is teaching history, social studies, science, mathematics, computer science, my field is computer science and math and physics. But the average student is going to learn from those courses. Why are they making an issue out of something? It's not an issue, just teach it.
Thank you. And Mr. Manning.
So the legislation you're referring to, I'm going to guess, is House Bill 8. It's called the Parents' Bill of Rights. It's passed the House. It's waiting to be passed in the Senate. What that has to do with is it ensures parents oversight that they have the right to opt out. This is just one of the components that deal with us. They have the right to opt out and remove their child from a class if they do not feel comfortable with the material being taught. Okay? So if controversial things come up like that, that's what House Bill 8 does. Now, moving off of that and going to what we are doing here at Kenston, we have a very rigorous, well, first of all, let me start. Gender identity is not in our curriculum. Critical race theory is not in our curriculum. We follow the Ohio Learning Standards. We do not deviate from the Ohio Learning Standards. We build our curriculum from those standards, okay? So for example, for textbooks, we have a very rigorous process of choosing our textbooks. 2510, it's a 6-step process. Parents are involved in that. We have a controversial topics policy that Dan mentioned over here, and we don't have any issues with our current procedures. We are navigating those waters very well with these great policies we have in place.
Thank you. We covered a lot of issues, and I appreciate your passion and your answers and being available for the residents here today. Thank you all very much. While they're exiting the stage, I'm going to share some information about a tax renewal levy, 2 mil, police, and EMS for South Russell. We don't have anybody available to speak on the issue, but we have one last candidate race, the Chagrin Falls Board of Education race. And we have 3 candidates for 2 open seats. We have Laura Hoy, Sam Nichols, and Danielle Saylor. And Ms. Hoy, I'll welcome you to the podium to give your opening remarks.
Good evening, and thank you for being engaged here and for staying and listening to us Chagrin board members' potentials. For those of you who are wondering about the spelling of my last name, it's Cantonese, courtesy of my Chinese American husband, and she got it right. The pronunciation is Hoy, like the cookie, Chips Ahoy. So I'm running for school board because I pay attention, essentially. And I read all of my emails, every single one from the school. Every note from the teachers, every PTO update, information about sports, clubs, newsletters, field trips, all of it. It can get overwhelming, and yet I still do it. And yet I still hear communication being an issue in our schools, that there's a gap, that parents don't understand what exactly is happening in our schools. And the reason that I'm in that habit to begin with is because I moved here almost 9 years ago with my family, and I wanted to be fully engaged with my new community, to be as informed as possible and make meaningful connections with other families in our schools. I volunteered with the PTO, I tutored at Gurney Elementary, and even dusted off my teaching license to be a substitute in Chagrin classrooms. I also filled out every single survey and feedback request that the school sent, and that resulted in an invitation to sit on the strategic planning committee for the entire school year last. It was a very fulfilling experience. In that strategic planning, my inquiry team we analyzed data, interviewed stakeholders, and wanted to understand how to best prepare our graduates for an increasingly rapid changing future. And we found that what resonated most deeply was a gap between our students' potential and their actual performance at all levels. For example, Tier 1, traditional learners go unnoticed and standardized tests don't fully capture their capabilities. Those excelling want to move beyond rote memorization in yet another dry AP class. Our Tier 2 and Tier 3 students, they have different learning abilities and styles, and they feel that they are being labeled and categorized by those learning differences. So even though Chagrin is doing an amazing job, we cannot rest in the light, can't bask in the light of our 5-star ratings, and we must encourage ourselves to focus on growth, because achievement is a byproduct when we truly care about growth. How does Chagrin Falls do this? I believe we focus on community engagement and give our teachers the freedom to develop curriculum that will meet the specific needs of our students, because they already know how to teach to the standards. Let's improve communication between our schools and our administration and our parents. And this is how we will set Chagrin students apart, by supporting our schools together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hoyt. I'd like to welcome to the podium Mr. Sam Nichols. Mr. Nichols.
Hi there, I'm Sam Nichols. Thank you to the League for holding this event, and I'd like to express my gratitude for everybody being here and giving me the opportunity to speak. Just a little bit about me. I have a bachelor's in philosophy and construction management, and through my experience as a project manager in construction, I've overseen over $200 million of work put in place. So this means that I know how to manage budgets, I know how to manage large projects, I know how to problem solve, and I know how to communicate with diverse groups of people. My wife and I were both born and raised in Chagrin Falls, and our love of this community goes very deep. Our beautiful moms also were raised in Chagrin Falls, and our 2 beautiful children are currently enrolled in Gurney. So this makes us fully aware that it takes an intentional daily effort to maintain our love of the community, and school is the foundation of that community. But without great teachers, great administrators, and great school governance working together, that foundation can start to crumble. Last spring, there was a couple security incidents in the area that left me feeling quite helpless. I reached out to our current school board for some support and leadership, and was a little disappointed in their lack of response. We did get the opportunity to meet with the superintendent and have a forum with some moms in the community, to which the school board didn't attend, and a future forum to which we did have school members attend. But from our efforts, even still from our efforts, the school listened, and we got better security coverage at all the campuses, which was a huge concern of many of the people in the district. So anyway, I am running to help ensure that schools are safe, secure, and welcoming, and parents and teachers are heard and valued. I will use my ability to bring various groups of people together in a common goal to build trust in the school board. And let me be clear, I do not want to arm the teachers of Chagrin Falls with guns, but I do want to arm them with the knowledge that they are supported and loved by our community, administration, and school board. The current acrimony between the teachers union and the school board needs to be mended. And, addressing these issues in a timely and consistent manner resolves the conflicts and builds strong relationships. So fundamentally, I don't have a political agenda. I'm not trying to work out our current political moment on our kids. I think that political moments change, but our kids only have a chance to be kids once. And so what we want to do is educate our kids to be active participants in American self-government through honest curriculum. Thank you.
And our third candidate is Danielle Sabo.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all so much for being here and for giving the candidates the platform to introduce ourselves to the public. My name is Danielle Sabo, but I typically introduce myself as Teddy's mom, which is the proudest title I bear, and it also serves as my inspiration for running in this election. When my son Teddy started at Gurney Elementary in 2021, he was 3 years old and was completely nonverbal. I had never heard him say a word. Not hi, not mom, not I love you. He began in a neurodiverse preschool class with a full IEP team of speech pathologists, occupational therapists, and his angel of a teacher, Miss B. By October, his team had him repeating every word they asked him to try. By the holidays, he was in full sentences, and by the end of the second year, he was rated at speaking at a first grade level. And now the kid doesn't stop talking, like ever, so I got my wish and then some. So it makes sense that with every fiber of my being, of who I am as Teddy's mom, I would want to give back to the school district that literally gave me my son's voice. At the same time, I recognize that not every family in our school district has had that same experience, but I want that for everyone. And as your school board member, I will advocate for every child to get the support they need so that every child can find their voice. For the past 3 years, I have been championing our schools and volunteering as a Gurney room parent, as a high school speech team volunteer coach, a class volunteer, and a PTO Boosters Club member. And I have done all of this while working full-time in higher education as the Assistant Director for Violence Prevention and Health Education, as a Campus Confidential Advocate, teaching college courses in sociology, criminology, and statistics at universities across Northeast Ohio, and while completing my doctoral dissertation and earning my PhD from Case Western Reserve University. While my experiences volunteering for our schools have been exceptional, particularly when I make those little dirt pudding cups with like the worms in them for the Halloween parties. Been getting good at that. I know I can give more to our community in the way of service as a school board member. I am ready to take my skills as Teddy's mom and a highly involved volunteer and combine them with my 13 years of direct experience working in education. I've sat on 12 different professional committees. I hold 8 unique education-specific certifications, not to mention my experience as a campus advocate where I worked on Title IX issues with both police and general counsel on campus. So I'm ready to combine all of this to really make a difference in our school district while also making those dirt pudding cups. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We did receive some questions, and we'd like to start that portion. So, Mr. Nichols, I'm going to start with you. What do you think is the most pressing issue facing the Chagrin Falls School District right now, and what realistic ideas do you have to address that issue?
I think the most pressing issue is the current relationship between the teachers union and the administration and school board. I think that there has been some advancements in these areas, but I still think that the teachers and the teachers union are feeling quite unheard by the administration and the school board. And I think that there are some policies that are either being overly rigorously followed through with or or their policies that just flat out need to be changed when it comes to investigating incidents between teachers and students. I don't think that teachers should be under investigation for things and have them not have any idea that they're under investigation. I don't believe that investigations should take 6 to 8 months over menial classroom things, and I think that that's something that the School Board Administration needs to work to address. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hoy?
I do agree with Sam that there are some frustrations that need to be addressed with regards to the Chagrin Falls Education Association and the board and Dr. Pinsarski. However, I do want to remind all of us that the part of the school board member's job is to ensure that our district is following the law. So whatever that law is and however long that law takes to follow, we must do it because we need to protect our students in all scenarios. And I realize that that's frustrating. And with those frustrations, we want to be giving teachers the opportunities to express those, because we cannot get solutions in before all of the frustration is let out. That's a kind of a preschool teacher approach. But finally, with that, we need to help families and community members understand what are the processes that require such long things to happen.
Thank you. Ms. Sabo?
Okay, so after speaking with parents, teachers, students, community members tirelessly on this campaign trail, I have heard over and over again a repeated concern that keeps coming up amongst everyone, and that is mental health and safety. We know our children are high achieving. We know that we have some of the best teachers in the entire country, and our state report card is reflecting that. But for some, the pressure to achieve takes a toll. Community members told me about bullying issues, harassment, the impact of cell phones on mental health, eating disorders, self-harm, and fear of gun violence. These are real concerns, and they distract from ensuring we remain a high-achieving school district. As a criminologist and a mental health researcher, a trauma advocate, and someone who works with the police, I know that building a culture of safety is what our schools need in order to make our parents, community members, and kids feel safe.
Thank you. We're going to switch topics and talk about curriculum. So given controversial issues regarding educational topics such as race, slavery, sexual education, particularly gender differences and book bans, what is your opinion on how these topics should be handled at school? Ms. Hood. Thank you.
Above all, especially when we're talking about racial and sexual topics, there are, again, certain things that the state dictates. And we have standards that, again, are dictated by the state. When we give teachers the freedom to design curriculum that meets the state standards and also is specific to our district needs, then we will have a better relationship with between the community and the school. And really what it comes down to it is that students need to have opportunities to see themselves reflected in the curriculum, and then also have a chance to see other opportunities for learning that would not be encountered in their personal home. Of course, we want our schools to be home-centered and school-supported.
Thank you. Ms. Sabo.
Okay, so I want to talk about what's actually happening in our community and in our schools. When we're talking about our schools in Chagrin Falls, what does book banning actually mean? I believe that it means that parents want to ensure that their voice is heard when it comes to the book choices for their children. Our children do best when parents and schools collaborate. But at the same time, we need to have confidence, respect, and trust in our teachers that they are the experts. They've already put together age-appropriate, developmentally appropriate materials in our classrooms and libraries, and they are fully transparent about those selections already. In our district, parents have the right to review any instructional material or content that is provided to their child. and ask that they not read something if it doesn't align with their values. So that's what is actually happening. At the same time, we need to understand and respect that every family is different. And that's why we make deliberate effort to listen and engage with everyone in our community.
Thank you. Mr. Nichols?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Given controversial issues regarding educational topics such as race, slavery, sexual education, particularly gender differences and book bans, what is your opinion on how these topics should be handled at school?
I think that one of the most important parts of all of that is allowing our parents, or communicating with our parents very clearly when there's a subject in which they may be uncomfortable, right? And I understand that's vague, and I'm not trying to be vague about this, but we need to be clear with our parents what their rights are up front at the beginning of the year when they say, hey, we're doing this with the curriculum, or we're including the social and emotional learning, or we're including a comprehensive sex ed, which, that needs to be just constantly, hey, this is coming up, hey, here are your rights to opt out, hey, here are your rights, here's something else that you can do that's productive during that time instead of just sitting in the library or sitting with the guidance counselor, and possibly exploring the options of saying, hey, if you want to opt into these kind of educational tracks, then you can opt in instead of forcing people to opt out.
Thank you. Last question, and I'm going to start with you, Ms. Sabo. What do you think the school board can do to attract strong candidates for future leadership openings and retain the staff that you have?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. What do you think the school board can do to attract strong candidates for future leadership openings and retain the staff you currently have?
Wow, that is an amazing question. As someone who has been in the field of education for 13 years and consistently always looking forward to meeting educators where they are and wanting to bring in the best talent possible, I think what we are already doing is the job, right? We have this incredible report card that comes out all the time. We are consistently communicating about our wins as a district. And I think as long as we continue to do that, we will attract the #1 talent to bring them into our schools. I want to make sure that while we are keeping that in mind and while we are searching for the best talent, that we take a look at what our community needs are, what our school district needs are, and try to fill in those gaps specifically when we are doing these types of searches.
Thank you. Mr. Nichols?
Thank you. I think that trying to be fair here. I think that first and foremost, we need to make sure that we retain the top talent that we have. I think that that's one of the first signs of a sick organization is good people leaving, is good people being uncomfortable, and good people being frustrated, which brings us back to making sure that everybody's on the same page, making sure that the people who need to be taking ownership of the issue, whether it's their fault or not, need to take ownership of it, and I believe those people are the administrators in the school board. Take ownership of the issue, keep the communication lines clear and open, and work to not only attract the good talent that's out there, but retain our great teachers that we've had. There's some of the same teachers that taught me, some of the same teachers that taught my wife, and the same teachers who are teaching my kids who are uncomfortable right now because they don't know where they stand with the district. They don't know if they're being investigated without being told. It's a little bit absurd.
Thank you. Ms. Hood?
I think that something really special that Chagrin Falls has is such a high ratio of teachers who already live in the district, who are sending their children to the schools that they work in, and who are also alum. That is a very unique way of showing the investment that our community has in developing teachers and appreciating their hard work. To that point though, when you have attracted a strong candidate and they are in your schools, as I know as a former elementary teacher, how do we help them develop leadership skills and have opportunities to become their best version of their teacher self? All of us, regardless of our profession, has been in in some sort of professional development seminar that felt like a total waste of time. And so part of our strategic planning findings were the idea that empowering teachers to have creativity over their curriculum and how they want to pursue their teaching will empower them to feel positively engaged in the community.
Thank you. Thank you all very much for sticking around and finishing out our program for us. Let's give them a round of applause. And if you have additional questions, I encourage you to go to the vote411.org, the online voter guide. It goes into a little bit more detail than the printed version. Both of them are good sources of information. And don't forget these important dates. October 10th is the voter registration deadline. Early voting begins October 11th, and election day is November 7th. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your questions. Thank you, candidates. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I hope everyone gets out and votes on or before November 7th. Thank you.